In this video, we'll be talking about natal Gemini sun in the 9th house and what this placement means for you if you have it in your chart or if you're watching for somebody else that has this placement. So, if you have this placement, you are in the right place. And with that being said, what the sun represents in astrology is it represents our passions, our constant way of acting, and our ego. It's also the things that motivate our actions, and it's how we want to be seen by others because it's how we shine in the world, and it's also our value to others. It can also show an aspect of our careers because it's something that we are passionate about, and it is something that we may do on a day-to-day basis as part of our work lives. So with that being said, when the sun is in Gemini, which is the sign of communication, information, and circumstances and opportunities, this shows somebody that is passionate about information. And they also are passionate about communication, and their mind is very active. They're constantly getting ideas, and they like to pursue opportunities. Now, in terms of their actions and their character, which is what the sun is about, it shows that their actions and their character are more circumstantial, and they're more adaptable people. So they may have a less solid sense of ego or self because their ego could be more fickle, and really their ego really revolves around their convictions, and it revolves around not knowledge, but information. But in terms of the things that they do, and in terms of the way that they express themselves, it is more circumstantially based or like socially based. So they really adapt themselves to the social circumstances that they're in. And also their actions or how they express themselves is really just based on the current moment. That's what Gemini sun is all about, because Gemini is all about variety, change, opportunities, ideas. So their actions or their ego is kind of like a train of thought. And they go on that train of thought until it ends. And then they switch directions. They may have a lot of great ideas and they may be quite creative, but at times they have trouble sticking to a single idea or following it through to the end. So in this case, you have Gemini sun in the 9th house. The 9th house is about knowledge, beliefs, and truth. It's about morality as well. It's about right from wrong. But as I was saying, we're going to focus on the first part, which is about knowledge or truth or beliefs. So in terms of this placement of having the sun in Gemini in the 9th house, this shows somebody that is curious about knowledge, especially from an intellectual standpoint. And they have an interesting approach to knowledge, to religion, or to beliefs, which is that they don't actually believe those things. They just like to consider and think about those things as a form of truth, and they like to make sense of them. And they may be really knowledgeable individuals or very wise people from being exposed to so much information or knowledge, even though they are more intellectual and they don't necessarily believe things. Sometimes they do get hints or glimpses of universal truth, if that makes any sense, because the 9th house is about our connection to God and about connection to the universe or to a higher power. And the sign Gemini opposes the meaning of the 9th house. It's all about our own mind, our own questions, our own thoughts, and it opposes the sign of beliefs. So what is interesting about this placement is that you have the sign Gemini, or the sun in Gemini in this case, because some of you guys might have the 9th house in Taurus or, in a different, mostly in Taurus, but it would be like a different sign. But a lot of you guys could have it in the sign Gemini too. But you guys have the sun in Gemini in the 9th house, and this is an interesting placement because this shows that you guys bring your intellectuality towards religion, towards truth, or towards beliefs, or towards knowledge. And so although you have a tendency not to believe things, you still have a curiosity for knowledge. and for, universal truth and for God and stuff of that nature. And like I was saying, what's interesting about this is that even though you have that intellectual orientation, at times you do get glimpses of like universal knowledge. So like you gain like a large amount of wisdom through your curiosity. So these are the most philosophically developed intellectuals that have this type of placement. Now, in terms of the next trait of this placement, this shows somebody that makes sense of beliefs, cultures, or differences, and also of knowledge. And that's because the ninth house is about foreign relations. It's about foreigners. It's about travel. It's about distant languages. So you may also have a curiosity or a passion for those things, but you have a more superficial or circumstantial passion for those things. So like I was saying, Sun in Gemini shows somebody whose actions or whose passions is kind of like a train of thought. And as soon as that train of thought ends, they switch to the next idea. So you guys superficially may pursue a lot of different languages or cultural endeavors or belief systems. And you guys just might switch around and adapt to it based on how you're feeling, or like adapt in terms of, what your interests or your beliefs are. And again, this unique tendency that these people have is because they don't actually believe things from a faith-based standpoint. They just really have a more intellectual orientation towards information. So this allows them to do what, most other signs or most other sun signs wouldn't do, which is like to switch completely in terms of, beliefs or interests, in terms of knowledge or truth. So like these are the people that are capable of like being curious about Hinduism and like dabbling in that. And then, for example, then the next month or the next year, now they're into Christianity, and now they're, being curious about that and learning about that. But it's because they're really just approaching all these things from a rational or like an intellectual standpoint, not really from, a point of attachment. So I use the example of religion, but this can go for other forms of knowledge. This could be knowledge in a general sense. Like this could be about spiritual topics, and it could be about things such as the chakra systems, things such as astrology. It could be all types of knowledge. The ninth house is really just about expanding our mind. So these people look for opportunities to expand their mind in all places. That's the best way to summarize it. So Sun in Gemini just shows somebody that has a more superficial or circumstantial approach to things. And in terms of this placement, it shows you have a more superficial or circumstantial approach to truth or to your beliefs or convictions. And generally speaking, people who have this placement, they have a belief that knowledge and truth is constantly changing and that it needs to be updated. So that is also how they approach things in terms of their interests and in terms of the things that they involve themselves in. Now, the next trait about this placement is it shows good communicators. These individuals are really good at convincing or influencing others because the ninth house is about the mind of other people. That's why it's about knowledge, because knowledge is just things that came from the mind of somebody else. Books and truth or religions or beliefs all come from the mind of somebody else, and that's just something that people pick up in order to not have to think themselves. That's why people go to school and learn things from textbooks, because that way you don't have to invent everything yourself. So anyway, the ninth house is really about also being able to convince others or teach others, or being able to relate to the mind of other people or how other people think. And so these individuals, they are good at convincing others because they have a logical flair to their communication, but at the same time, they have an understanding of intellectual differences. So in order to convince or influence others, they use a lot of undeniable logic or facts in terms of how they choose to communicate to other people, because Gemini is all about information. And unlike the ninth house, information or, Gemini things, which are involving facts or, logic, those things are undeniable. So the point being is that when these people believe something or when they know something is true, they have a very high capacity to convince others, because they will utilize undeniable logic or thought processes that they've realized in order to convey the message or to convey something that they believe to somebody else. So, this is really convincing to other people. So they're very relatable in terms of communication. So to summarize, the sun in Gemini in the ninth house shows somebody that's curious about knowledge from an intellectual standpoint, and they're curious about expanding their mind. They may be more superficial or circumstantial in terms of their beliefs. And in terms of their ego, which is what the sun is about, the ego will tend to revolve around their convictions and what they believe to be true, especially from an informational standpoint. And they have a tendency to dabble in a lot of beliefs, but to not necessarily get attached to any single one of them. They just see these as sources of information and just, more resources to expand their mind. So, with that being said, that summarizes natal sun in Gemini in the ninth house. So, I hope that you found this insightful and that you enjoyed it. If you did, then don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to this channel. With that being said, I appreciate you guys supporting in any way that you do and watching this video. And I will talk to you guys sometime soon in another video. Peace.